Hello class 10th. Let's start new chapter, chapter 2, genetics in biology. Right now, first of all, what is genetics? Genetics is a branch of biology concerned with the study of mechanism of heredity and variations. Now, what is heredity? Heredity is a process by which transmission of genetically based characteristics are transmitted from parents to offspring. All of you know we all resemble to our parents, right? Means we get what? So many characteristics from our parents. So these characters are what? They are transmitted from parents to offspring. Offspring is next generation. Means the characters are transferred from one generation to another generation, and this mechanism is called what? Heredity, right? And next is your what? Variations. Variations are actually what? The differences between the young ones of the same parent or differences between various individuals belonging to one species. Now differences, just listen. If you all of you know that whenever a child is born, the family members, they usually start comparing the child's appearance with as to whom he or she is resembling, whether he or she is resembling to father or mother, right? And then these resemblances are just because of, it means that the child carry characters from parents, maybe from mother or from father, right? But at the same time, the child is what? There are some, the child is different from his or her siblings as well as from parents. There are some differences. Just because of that, what's happened? That child has its own identity. Just because of these differences, all of you know you are little bit different from your siblings or your brother and sisters. The same way, just because of these differences, we are different from our friends. The same way, as we all know that all human beings, whether they belong to Indians or Americans or Europeans or Africans, they all belong to the same species, that is your what? Homo sapien, right? But they all are little bit different from each other, and just these differences give them their identity. That's why you can identify a particular person, right? These differences are called variations. So what is the definition of variation? Variations are the differences between the young ones of the same parents or differences between various individuals belonging to one species, right? Now next is your gene. What is gene? Gene is a small segment of chromosome that helps in the transmission of one character from parent to offspring. All of you know why we resemble to our parents, just because what's the characters they are, these are transmitted from our parents to us, right? And in simple way, you can say, what is gene? Gene is something which is responsible for each and every character of our body, right? These genes, they carry characters from parents to offspring or from one generation to next generation, right? Now next is your allele, and where the genes are present? Genes are present on the chromosome, right? Now next is your, and one more thing, gene is the unit of heredity. Gene is the unit of heredity, right? Now next is your alleles. Now what are alleles? These are alternative forms of gene or factor controlling contrasting traits occupying same locus or position on the homologous chromosome, right? Now first you just try to understand allele. Suppose I'm just talking about a particular character. right? This character, we are just talking about a height is a character which we naturally get from our parents. Now that height character is controlled by a particular gene, because just remember that in our body there are million and trillions of genes, and for one character is controlling by one gene. For example, height is controlled by one gene. The same way the color of skin is controlled by another gene. The same way the skin color of your eye is controlled by another gene. Right? So now the character of the height character is controlled by one gene. Now this height, it may be what? Tall, or it may be dwarf. Height may be tall or dwarf. So what these are? These are the traits of characters. These are the traits of characters, right? And or you can say these are tall and dwarf is the alternative forms of height. The same way, now this gene, that character is controlled by gene, and gene is that gene is carrying the character of height, and it may carry what? Tall character. It carry tall character also and dwarf character also, right? And it means what? That is carrying also tall or dwarf character. Suppose this is a gene. It means half part is carrying tall character and alternative form of that gene is carrying dwarf character. And these alternative forms are called allele. What they are called? Allele. So what is allele? Allele is the alternative form of genes, right? Suppose again I'm giving you one more example. You suppose a child has the height of a child father is very tall, right? And the mother height is short. Now the child would be tall or dwarf, depending upon that trait would be dominant, or that the character of tall, which is is carried by that gene, it is dominant or recessive. Naturally, if tall character is dominant, then child would be tall. If that dwarf character is dominant, then that child would be dwarf. Or if it is recessive, so naturally what's happened? It will suppress and the child would be tall. Means one gene has two parts, or these are called alleles. Alleles are what? They are nothing but these are the allele are the alternative forms of a gene. Right? Now next is your what? Dominant gene. Dominant gene or dominant allele. Allele. The gene which expresses itself phenotypically in the presence of its contrasting allele in the hybrid is called dominant allele. I just told you, a child father is tall and mother is dwarf, right? And naturally the child would be tall or dwarf depending on the dominant gene or dominant allele. If this if suppose the child is tall, it means this tall character or this tall trait is what? Dominant one, or the gene which is carrying or the allele which carrying this tall character, it is dominant one. Means what is dominant gene or allele? Allele, the gene which express itself phenotypically. Phenotypically means outer appearance, in the presence of its contrasting allele in the hybrid. Actually, just remember, children, every character has two traits, right? Just I told you the color of the skin, it may be dark or light. The texture of the hair may be straight or curly. The color of eyes may be blue or you can say blue or green or black. So these are every character has two traits, right? And the trait which expresses itself Phenotypically means outer appearance. Then in presence of its contrasting allele. But tall and dwarf are two contrasting characters, right? Then in the hybrid is called what? Dominant gene or allele. Right, now next is your recessive allele or gene. The gene which does not express itself in the presence of its contrasting allele, then it is called what? Recessive allele or gene. For example, here your dwarf is a what? Recessive allele or gene. Now next is your genotype. Genotype is a genetic constitution for any trait of an individual. Right, means suppose the child who is born, whose father is tall and mother is dwarf, that child carry both the characters genetically, means tall character also and dwarf character also. But but phenotypically that child is tall, so that is called phenotype. Means what is genotype? Genotype is your genetic constitution for any trait of an individual, and phenotype is a morphological expression of an individual for any trait. Means outer appearance of an individual for any trait is called what? Phenotype. So phenotypically the child is tall, but genetically the child is what? Is carrying both the characters, that is your tall character also and dwarf character also. Okay, now next is your monohybrid cross. What is monohybrid cross? A cross or breeding between two individuals having one pair of contrasting traits. Contrasting traits means two contrasting characters, producing all heterozygous generation for that character is called monohybrid cross. Children, just try to understand. Suppose we have a tall plant, right, of suppose we have a tall pea plant and another is your dwarf pea plant, right? You have taken that is tall one is your male plant and dwarf is your female plant. Now pollen grains from tall plant are taken and they are fertilized with the ovules of female dwarf plant. Now after fertilization, what's happened when pollen grains fall on this stigma of that dwarf plant, then what's happened? They reach to ovary, and then in ovary what are present? Ovules, and then they fertilize these ovules. After fertilization, the zygote is formed, and then the zygote is changed into seed. And then if we grow this seed, it will now the plant which we get after growing this seed, then this plant would be what? Tall. Phenotypically it is tall. What you will say? Phenotypically it is tall, but genetically it is what? Hybrid. What would be if this plant would be hybrid? Why it is hybrid? Hybrid means it is containing tall character also and dwarf character also. So genetically it is hybrid, but phenotypically it is tall, right? And this cross is called what? Monohybrid cross, where we are taking two contrasting characters. Which contrasting characters? Tall character and dwarf character. Both are contrasting, opposite to each other, right? And then this cross is called what? Monohybrid cross. Okay, children, now next dihybrid cross and other Mendel's laws and about the Mendel's experiment, we will I'll explain these one in next video. Thank you, children.